Very good morning, sir.
Good afternoon.
Very good afternoon, sir. बहुत दिन हो गया मिल करके.
Uh, so,
Great to see you as young as you were, sir.
thank you. Thank you. I am delighted to see Dr. Kumar
Sir,
after a long time.
आप
Uh,
your own student.
uh,
Even today, you are my guru.
no, I'm not your guru. But anyway, we have been a good friends and we have learned from each other so many things.
Sir, it's too big word for me.
Hmm.
Too big word for me. Thank you so much, sir. Shall we get
Thank you.
into we are live, sir? Can we get into the
Yeah,
webinar?
sure.
Yeah. Very good morning. Welcome
Very good
to every
morning.
single individual who has joined us in this webinar of Gandhigram Rural Institute. This webinar
Mhm.
is on the third series, fourth day of our webinar from Gandhigram Rural Institute deemed to be university. My sincere thanks to our Chancellor, Dr. K. M. Annamalai, our Vice Chancellor in charge, Dr. B. Subraj, and our Registrar, Dr. V.P.R. Sivakumar, for helping us, enabling in many places to make it successful. It has now truly come as a international webinar within the short span of time. Our alumni abroad should also be thanked personally for their involvement in getting into Gandhigram Rural Institute, this webinar series. Today we have most distinguished guest, very seasoned and a learned financial professional, internationally accredited financial professional, Shri Shambu Kumar Das. Uh, for many startups or learners, even today like me, he is a guru and people learn from him. We love his symposiums and lectures wherever he is giving in economy. Uh, the day our country, our former Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao sir, has signed general agreement for trade and tariff, we were not insulated on that day or from that day. Ups and downs of the entire world economy has impact in our economy also. Pandemic has shattered world economy as of the date. Every single individual country is giving stimulations and other things to get the economy back into track. Uh, we all are waiting what will happen, how the economy will come to track. This is a big question with individuals. We are blessed to have Shamakumar Das Sahab to deliver a lecture on India's economic growth in 2025 with a foresight. To introduce Dasab, as he is known in the industry, Dasab is a top-level financial expert, and his career in is spanning over 4 decades, a little less than my age. Sir has advised several Indian corporates on their strategic and financial needs, especially raising offshore funds, be it equity, mezzanine, or senior debts in infrastructure, healthcare, hospitality, real estate, manufacturing sectors, and almost every sector we can say. He knows the complexities of providing apt solutions. He is also well versed in and had been associated with cross-border transactions. Dasab is an advisor to many big individuals, bringing into the funds are brought into Indian economy by Dasab on his advice. He is also well versed and has associated with the global LPs interested in investing in India, such as sovereign wealth funds, endowment funds, pension funds, private lending, and investor groups. He has also assisted and acquired a deep knowledge of starting up, structuring, and raising offshore private equity funds, alternate investment funds for investment in India by being associated with 5 alternate investment funds. Consequently, he has built up a database of global investors, lenders, and their advisors, who have interest in taking exposure in India in various sectors. Thus, Hub was instrumental in setting up a interglobal capital, and by virtue of being CEO, he has provided leadership by providing and building competent team. As a team member, Dasab is a silent person, always guides people, but with total command. Allows everyone to work with full freedom, but with total control. It's an art of management I have learned from him. Uh, Sir has associated with transactions over 500 US billion dollars, million dollars in infrastructure, real estate, manufacturing, and distressed and semi-distressed assets, etc. Before joining Interglobal Capital, he worked as Chief Executive Officer of Orofincorp and Torrance Capital. Dasa was also a CEO of Concept 2 for 7 years, where he was learned high points of LP and GP agreements, co-investments, nurturing and creating value for investments, and providing timely exit through trade sale, listing in alternative investment market in London and Luxembourg. Sir is masters in economics and started his career as an officer with State Bank of India in 1979 and held various important assignments in India and USA. Probably USA has the major role. Throughout, he was in US and he was in the core team of setting up a very successful private bank in India. At the outset, yes, Sir has come only for that particular purpose to be there in India from US. Sir has also has been trained in Euromoney Institute, New York, and J.L. Kellogg Business School in Illinois, London Business School, IIM Kolkata, NIBM Pune, and American Business Association. He has also been a panelist in IIM Ahmedabad. I welcome you, sir. Uh, this is an opportunity for us to hear once again you. For many, it is for the first time. I'm sure this webinar will enlighten many people on the economy front. Welcome to you, sir. Over to you.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Krishna, for this lovely introduction. I'm really extremely delighted to be part of this series of webinar conducted by Gandhiram University jointly um, with the Ministry of Education and which is under Government of India. And I'm really honored and privileged this afternoon. And at the outset, I would like to welcome all the guests and we'll welcome them by saying good afternoon. The topic given to me today is really challenging in all respect, especially considering the position we are in, the recent halla of contraction in our GDP on quarter-to-quarter basis by 23.9%, and recent last 2 days report of Asian Development Bank, Standard and Poor, and other Nomura and other global investment banks and rating agencies that during this financial year, our economy is going to be contracted by about 9%. But silver lining at the same time, these agencies have mentioned that in the coming year, the growth will be about 8% plus. So this is a very encouraging to all the Indians, and there are reasons for that also. But before I go on the pandemic and what has happened recently, it is very important for us to know the Indian economy landscape since independence. As you all know, that India, when it became independence, at that time we followed this colonial system of development. We were unsure, and our then Prime Minister, visionary Mr. Nehru, he was slightly confused in the sense whether to follow a British model, a colonial model, or Russian model. So, considering the economy of that time and looking at the future prospects, his focus was that in economy we should be following basically our industry should import substitution industries. So he, along with a very notable person, Mr. Mahalanobis, decided to go for a mixed economy concept. By mixed economy, we meant that let both the government sector and private enterprise do the business simultaneously in the heavy industry and in the manufacturing setup, but with the government intervention. They wanted the government to control a lot of things. And with this end in view, the focus started both on the public sector and private sector. And since then, we have done well till, as you very rightly mentioned, till we're compelled to start the liberalizing of our economy in 1991 under our able leadership of Narasimha Raoji, the then Prime Minister, and our ex-Prime Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh, as Finance Minister. We gradually opened up our economy, made a lot of improvement in labor laws, opened our economies. We invited foreign exchange, foreign direct investment in the country, because there is a story behind that. That at that point of time, we are on the verge of a default of close to 1.8 million to IMF. So IMF very rightly pointed out to the then leadership that in order for you to get resettlement of the loan, it is important that certain structural changes should be made in the Indian economy. And it was also found fit by the then think tank that the best course of action for economy to propel up is to adhere to some of the advices given by the IMF. And foremost was do away with the license Raj. But considering the democracy we have and the legislation process that was in place and that is still in place for any vibrant democracy, it was not possible to do away with license Raj all of a sudden. But it was liberalized. It was liberalized to the great satisfaction of foreign investors and even our domestic economists, and it suited the then industry, agriculture, and so many other things. So this background, and this also reminds me of an anecdote between J.R.D. Tata and Mr. Nehru. At that time, when India had opted for a mixed economy concept, when Mr. Tata pointed out to Mr. Nehru that your public sector should be making profit. And Mr. Nehru, in his own imitable style, had said that for me, profit is not important. It is for me employment generation and equitable distribution of wealth is important. But he at the same time respected the views of Mr. Tata and opened up to his ideas and allowed private enterprises or a private sector to go for investments. So with this background and so many challenges, we have done well over a period of time. And before I proceed further, let me just share for the purpose of the listeners where we stand in terms of our broad economic parameters, which are the indicator of any economy. So, our GDP, and I've taken this figure for the year 2018-19 because the figures for 20 are not available. And at that, the latest available figure prior to pandemic and prior to 2020 is that our GDP was about $3.2 trillion, which was, and it was ranked 5th in the world. GDP per capita rank, although was 139. GDP by sector, if you take into account that agriculture contributed almost 15.4% of the GDP, and our industry was 23%, and services sector. It's very difficult to believe that services sector it contributed almost 62% of our GDP.
Wow!
And so, an importance of service sector was recognized over a period of time, apart from agriculture
and industry.
And one of the most important factor was the generation of employment by these sectors. So it will be very interesting to know that India being an agrarian economy, the agriculture, they say the statistics vary over a period of time between 40 to 55%, but the global estimate is that the agriculture employed about 44% of our population, employable population, I mean,
Yes.
is there, and industry, it accounted for 25%, and service industry 35% of our population. So employment generation was also quite intensive and equitable in terms of the GDP percentage. That is one area. And another area, let me also tell you that our GDP growth over a period of time has been increasing. And we have done well, right? Considering our economic dynamics, we have done well. We have done well in terms of ease of doing business also, where we rank 63 globally. Our inflation has been by and large under control. So now it is estimated at around 4.5% to estimate, but about 2 years back it was averaging about 6.8%. So 6.58%. Then our export, we have done well. We have done almost 330 billion of US dollar as an export, and and again it is very interesting to the viewers when they will know that our out of 330 million, 28.8% it amounted to it constituted agriculture, followed by fuel and mining assets, so which was almost 13.8%, and manufacturing, of course, it was about 70+%, and the rest were other things. And in this context, I would also like to share that our Arab League countries, they are we export almost 70.5% of our products to Arab countries, Arab League, and European Union. It accounts for almost on the same scale, about 17.5%. But US is much less. US accounts for only 15.6 or 15.8, or around 16%. So mostly our exports are confined to these three countries: Arab League, European Union, and USA. And the rest other countries we are doing 2%, 3%, and other things. But our import is again, whereas the export was 330 billion, our import is very high. Is 514 billion. And again, these are the only partners for our import also, and our wild bill is one of the important components of our import. And it is very interesting that we're talking about debt. So foreign external debts that a country has is around 540 billion, which has come down over a period of time. So we stand around 550 to 540 billion as external debts, and our foreign exchange reserve is also close to 550 billion, which is a very satisfactory number in terms of our global foreign exchange reserve. One other thing I must mention that which is worrying is that about 2% of Indians out of such a huge population pay taxes, and one of the reasons that have been attributed for this low number is the dominance of parallel economy, I would say.
Absolutely.
So that is one of the reasons why very few people pay taxes. And this is one area which is very interesting, and government needs to do a lot of things, which I'll come to when we talk about our future. But I'm talking these numbers to give a feel of where we stand. Now, yeah, the one thing people talk about deficit, current account deficits, and etc. And for me, this is not very important. Now, some of the data I will again like to share to make it a complete understanding that many people don't know. What is when we talk about agriculture, what does it include? So agriculture includes crops, horticulture, milk, fishing, wild seeds. We have product like jute, coffee, tea, and so many things that we produce. And we are one of the highest producer in the world of, so far milk is concerned, so far jute is concerned, so far pulses are concerned. So these are very revealing when we learn, because nobody talks that how much we are doing in agriculture. But what the sad thing is that our yield on agriculture is not up to the desired level. It is, in fact, compared to our other countries, we are yield is we are lower by about 30 to 40%.
Wow.
So that is one area where a lot of incentives needs to be given over a period of time, which I will try to articulate subsequently. But I thought I must bring you to the notice of this. And it is, we are doing very good in electronics. We are doing very good in mining. Gem and jewelry is one area where we have done very well, and still we have done a lot of things. Infrastructure is one area where we have done well, but needs to do more. Power, now we are a power surplus company. At one time we were a deficit country. Now we are a power surplus company. We became power surplus in 2015. But there are certain disparities because cost of power that is available in India is much higher compared to other companies. And there is a inconsistency between the power that is required by household and power that is required by industry. So certain equilibrium has to be established between these two to going forward to make our economy more robust over a period of time by 2025 or 2030. That is the thing. And service sector is one area we should be proud of. And it has been a late starter, but we have done it. We have done our in ITs and so many other service sectors in banking. And in this context, in 1991, one of the important things of liberalization was liberalization in the financial sector. So that resulted in this setting up of new private sector banks and also permitted entry of insurance companies, global insurance companies to come. Health insurance got the momentum, and so many new products have come for the benefit of the large number of the people. The NBFCs in India were also liberalized, their funds ability were made available, and in that way, the financial sector was also liberalized, logistics was liberalized, and all our sectors have been liberalized. One of the areas that I would like to talk is tourism. Tourism has India has lot of potential in tourism, and which will I'll subsequently talk about that. So, in nutshell, I would like to state that our economy of India is characterized at this point of time as a developing market economy. Since independence, we have been doing well. We had certain setbacks. The first setback after the liberalization of 1991. Prior to that, even Mr. Rajiv Gandhi as a Prime Minister tried to reform things under VP Singh as a Finance Minister, but due to various reasons, it did not yield much result, except that telecommunication sector improved at
Sam
that time.
Petroda, sir.
Yeah, Sam Petroda was the face, and you could see a lot of STD. Otherwise, prior to that, we used to stand for hours at night, at 9 p.m. to make a STD call. And so now we had a PCO in every pawn shop available. So liberalization started, and importance of telecommunication was given. That continues. That became a game changer over a period of time because of introduction of ability of internet and so many other things that came thereafter. So one of the setbacks that we received was in 1998. This any student of Indian economics must know. What had happened in 1998 was that we had done our nuclear weapon test under Mr. Bajpayee as a Prime Minister. So at that time, a lot of sanctions had been imposed
Yes, yes.
on our country by virtually all the foreign countries. Once we become a nuclear power nation. So negotiating and navigating that period was really challenging, but we faced the challenge, and in 2-3 years thereafter, we could overcome the drawbacks or the setbacks, the setback that we had received. And once the things got normalized, once we were having things were getting normalized, the 2008 financial crisis happened, global financial crisis. But it did not affect us as a common man much
Absolutely.
because one can say that it was existence of parallel economy, but certain remedial measures thereafter were taken. So in a couple of years, we could do that. but the impact was felt. Our GDP and the economic crisis had started in 2012, and since 2013, after signing the nuclear deal, etc., uh, uh, things had started looking up. We started improving virtually in all parameters of the economy. Then, in 2016, a disruptive action of the government was taken by demonetization. It was disruptive in the sense that it disrupted the economy. I'm not coming to the intentions. Intentions were honorable. Intentions have been honorable, but and the government also probably of that day knew that it will have an adverse effect on day-to-day economy. They knew it well, but still they felt that the demonetization will, in long run, will help the economy. But it became a very disruptive, to use the word. And then if you make certain reforms, you have to suffer. It happens in any family, so you are not immune. That thereafter, simultaneously, we had GST. So that was another disruptive action, and it hurt the economy. In 2016, 2017, it hurt the economy. And but things started looking satisfactory. I wouldn't say good, but a lot of stimulus, lot of changes were done and other things. But some good things happened on the rural economy sector because of the financial inclusions. We had Jan Dhan
Yojana.
Yojana, we had direct benefits to the farmers. So the the intermediary role gone down, and that was one of the massive financial inclusion exercise was there. The Aadhaar, introduction of Aadhaar, was another game changer, and it still is. So these were basically the background under which I thought I will just touch upon before I speak on my views on what is going to be the economy now and what needs to be done over a period of time. And to that end in view, after that, where the things were looking positive, we had this COVID lockdowns, virtual stoppage of work, economy were in doldrums, the availability of goods, services, manpower, all have been affected because all the efforts of the government had gone towards restricting the human lives. And but this pandemic, COVID-19, affected globally. And no country was immune to it. Everybody suffered. But the extent of suffering were different economically. And India, we faced a big challenge. And this we are still continuing to face. So, given the pandemic and looking at the suffering was pandemic suffering was not only in worldwide, both in terms of life, but it affected the livelihood. It also in India we had a new problem of migrant laborers. So it was a lot of complications in managing small micro level health care and other things. As a result of that, other activities had to suffer. In order to overcome that, the government has come up with the stimulus package. It's a good stimulus package. It has also had fiscal measures to do that, but it will take time to yield result.
Naturally.
It will take time to yield result. So I would believe that any plan that will do that has to be in a 12 to 15 months period. Implementing those things will take about 12 to 15 months. Thereafter, only gradually the result will arise. And this has also been pointed out in the recent studies by Nomura and other rating agencies, wherein they have forecasted for next year a growth of 8%. So now the question is, how do we go about? What should be our goal? What should be our aim? And how do we do? So I would put it in three important ways. First is that there has to be a structured growth. And we have to choose a high growth path, though challenging, but it has to be done that way. We have to identify growth booster. And one of the important things which nobody talks, but which I strongly believe, is that there should be a coordination between federal government and state governments, so that whatever they should work in tandem, because the objective should be the same. And India has a different complex state-centered relationship. So state has ownership of land, labor laws are there, Indian laws are different. So they have to work in tandem, so that ease of platform should be provided, and they should both act as a enabler. They should be supportive to
Each other.
private enterprises, because it's ultimately the private enterprises. There has to be a rule of law, which is there, of course, to attract the foreign flow of capital. The trust is already given in Make in India. Then we have for our young entrepreneur, we have a Startup India. For rural things, we have other schemes. But the implementing authority is the state. So it has to, in order to it goes down to the last person. It is important that all should work at tandem. The bureaucracy, the politicians, the leaders, the think tank, all have to work in tandem with the same objective. One should not become hindrance to other. So, based on in this background, my suggestions are basically we have to have a global standard. We have to create a hub for global standard. In manufacturing, what has emerged is that the manufacturing hub, which will have a global market, are in the field of electronics, capital goods, chemicals, textiles, auto and auto component, electric vehicle is one area which I am personally very bullish, and India has the capabilities, India has the infrastructure, India has the will, India has the technology to do a lot of things, and electronic vehicles and batteries also. Then pharma, medical devices is one area in manufacturing. So these are basically all manufactured. The efficiency has to improve to global standard. That is one. Second is global IT and digital platform. This is our strength. So we have to go for automations. You have to go for cloud. We have to go for cyber security. We have to go for data analytics. So these are the high value. What I am talking about, the high value, without changing the basic fabric. Then we have high value agriculture. Is one area. There we need to improve not only the yield, we have to improve our market, we have to improve our policies, we have to improve, most importantly, we have to give two things. We have to provide, we have to focus on high yield so that we become comparable to global standard in terms of yield. And second is the market is very important. Healthcare. This is a rising industry. Healthcare here is not only medical care, we have to look at wellness. We have to look at preventive therapies. So these are, India can do it. India has the capacity, India has the capabilities to do this, create these high value healthcare facilities. And most importantly, there is a high value tourism also. I'll come to define all those things. Tourism circuit with high value infrastructure, we have tourism. But when you compare it with the other countries, even Phuket has more tourists than India. Bangkok has, Thailand has more tourists than India. So we have to see. And India has such a rich heritage. So we have to give a thrust, very important thrust on this. So I would say that these are broadly some of the things which I'll articulate it slightly more so that one understands what I'm talking about. I'm just giving a pointer. And tell me if, Dr. Kumar, tell me if you think that is not relevant, you can tell me so that I can switch over to something.
No, sir, please, please.
Thank you. See, according to me, there are 6 areas of targeted reform which are critical to unlock opportunities. And one of them is manufacturing. The manufacturing sector has the potential to generate 1.25 trillion of GDP by 2025, 2026. So how can you miss that? It has to be, manufacturing has to be there. More than double the 500 billion it accounted for in 2020. In 2020, it is estimated that our manufacturing is about 500 billion. So it has to go to at least 1 trillion in the next 5 years. And this could be achieved. A key step forward for India to build out the global manufacturing hubs described earlier will be a holistic policy framework that takes into account each sector's needs and priorities. This can have 3 components. First, is a stable and declining tariff regime with removal of inverted duty structure. For example, high-tech firms and others can import certain items at customized duty of 10% or less, whereas raw materials including seamless alloy steels, pipes, carbon steel all carry 50% custom duty. Second could be building well functioning. In other words, that we have to give on manufacturing, it may be for all type of manufacturing. We have to improve. The focus should be to make it at least $1 trillion from 500 billion to $1 trillion. So we're just asking for doubling. For that, we have to have an enabling environment. We have to have ease of law, ease of land, no license, single window clearance, capital. You should have export market. So manufacturing is one area that is high importance and needs to be given. And one thing for me is real estate sector. Whatever others say, but it is one sector which needs to grow. India needs real estate. It needs in a structured way, and it needs to grow. The construction sector has the potential to more than double its GDP to 550 billion from 250 billion in 2020. Maybe many people, it will be astonishing to know that our construction and real estate sector, it amounts for 250 billion in 2020. We are just asking for doubling in 5 years. Which should be possible. It should be possible. With the ease of doing business, with the ease, with the availability of credit and other things, it should be possible. We have to identify, because India's aspiration is real estate. Everybody wants to have a house. So it is slightly different from affordable housing. We are not coming to, we will come to affordable, but real estate. Real estate, we have to have a very concerted, focused plan. Then we have agriculture and food processing. Everybody knows that agriculture and food processing is the money-making thing. And India's potential is 95 billion in high-value agriculture. This will require, of course, reform. Because land laws are completely different. What we have in Tamil Nadu and what we have in Northeast is completely different.
Yes.
So land law has to be the thing will be the similar. If not, it should be there should be age of land rules. There should be agriculture produce market, as I mentioned earlier. So agriculture and food processing is one sector which is I see it going up very fast and need to grow. Then another is retail. The importance the retail is generating. The recent example of global investor lining up for Reliance shows the amount of interest they have in the retail sectors. Even the SoftBank is trying to invest, but our Mukesh Mani sir says, no, wait, I'll take the money on my turn. I'll not take the money now. So this retail is one area which will grow, which is growing, and which is going to be mainstay over a period of time. It will generate employment. And then all these sectors have taken into account the generation of employment, which is the ultimate aim. That we should have, if not full employment, almost close to full employment. So only these sectors can generate the full employment. Then healthcare, India's potential to increase access to quality healthcare and attract medical tourism will require ramped up spending and investment from public sector. More than half of households in urban areas, about 2 in 5,000 in rural areas currently depend on private sector healthcare. So healthcare is one area. Both we need not only hospitals, we need hospitals, we need diagnostics, we need so many equipments, cancer care equipments, so many equipments. I'm told in a state like Bihar, PET machine is hardly 1 or 2 or 3. In the UP also PET machine, which is a cancer detection machine, is very few. So there people line up to go to Calcutta or to come to Delhi. So we need, and even we are doing in one of the cases for investment that has come, we found that people are lining up because it's a very complex. There are certain nuclear medicine that is required to be given to a patient. That's life of that nuclear medicine is very short. So there has to be synchronization of so that is diagnostic is very important. See, one thing I believe that in India the hospital people have not distinguished between hotels and hospitals. The hospitals have to make money not out of rooms or beds, but they have to make money out of diagnostic support, out of investigations, out of OPD. But it's not a room. If anybody is not mom and pop kind of a hospital that we used to have in every corner of the town, a nursing home, where anybody has a real estate will set up a hospital and rent is to be the main criteria, not the diagnostic and OTs and procedures, etc. So healthcare has to be completely different from from hotels. From hotels, rooms make money, but in hospitals, it is the services that make money. Rooms and beds are just a support. So that has to be also looked into, and that has to be distinguished very clearly, and focus should be given. The focus will be given. It's given by the think tank. It's a question of implementing it. There is a shortage of capital. Capital is required, so it will come. Capital will come. We are liberalizing economy. This Make of India concept is going to do a lot of things in defense production, in healthcare, in manufacturing, and other things. See, in this context, slightly out of thing, but let me tell you, we are so proud that Rafale came. The 5 Rafales came. We are so proud, we celebrated all television channels. But look at the time when we started manufacturing our own Rafale and exporting to world globally, other countries. That will be the moment of pride. It's a matter of happiness that we got it. We enhanced our defense capabilities. But so we are happy, but we are not proud. We will be proud the day we are able to manufacture such world-class technology, such class equipments. So, what I want to say that look at the potentials, the kind of potential we have in these sectors. I just give you an example of just out of nothing to relate to that, but just an example. And similarly, this global IT and digital services, it has a huge scope, and we have done well. We can still do 3 times, 4 times. Now we are providing services by going to client places. We are going to, our people are going to under H1 visas to USA, to other countries, and providing the customers, go to customers' office and providing the services. Now it has to be, we should be doing it ourselves. That will save cost. So when the BPO came, etc., people used to get 1 cent a word. Now there is no BPO business in that. So one has to be futuristic in understanding. Now there is a restriction on H1 visa, so we have to. Now there is a restriction on visa to USA, to UK, etc. So we cannot send our people there. We have to do it here. So we have to divide wage and means. In the high by being in Hyderabad or being in Vijayawada or being in Manipur, we should be able to provide same service. And it has proven during the lockdown that you don't need to physically go and work and deliver. You can do it with the connectivity and other things. You can do it from your home, comfort of home. So that is one area which will substantially reduce the cost and improve our profitability. It is there. Then we have to create a high value agriculture ecosystem. It has to be technology based, high value economy system. Healthcare I have already mentioned. High value tourism. I was on a tourism. It's very interesting. Again, I'm reiterating because I didn't know it. That in 2018, about 10 million foreign tourists visited India for fewer than, which was, whereas in a small country like Thailand, had 38 million visitors in 2000, 38 million visitors. Our India has a tourism circuit with high quality infrastructure and services could attract some 50 million foreign tourists in by 2025, 26, 27. When I say 2025, we have to take 1-2 years ahead. So we have the potential. We have the Buddha circuit. We have so many things. We have such a good roads. We have so many good hotels are coming up, affordable hotels. So we have so much natural beauties from Jammu and Kashmir to Northeast to Sikkim to Tamil Nadu to Kerala. We have beaches. What not? When you go to USA, when you go to England, we see some dams and say, oh, we see the beauty. But such beauty already exists here. You are you are a frequent visitor to different parts. Look at the Meenakshi temple. Look at the majestic view. Go to Tirupati. Look at the view. Here also, go to Jama Masjid. What a majesty. So, what I mean to say, go to Lotus Temple. It's so different. Had it been, go to Taj Mahal. I mean, we have done it, but we have not done the way
It has to be.
tourist as we should be. So we have a Buddhist tourist, such a Buddhist. There are high spending tourists coming from Japan and other for being Buddhist. We have Sikh tourists coming from Canada and so many places, Patna Sahib, Amritsar. So we have to create, or not only. I'm not talking about religious tourism. We are talking about adventure sports. We are talking about so many things. India has a rich culture. It is a question of we have given priority, but we have to intensify our efforts to make it more aggressive. Yeah, we cannot. Chalta hai approach has to undergo a change.
That should go undergo major changes.
Yeah, we have to create excellence. We have to create hotel. We have to create hotel for excellence. We have to create that. Then we have to create. For all these, we have to have financial services, a robust financial services model. There should be. We have to increase our saving. Our capital market is good, but compared to our New York or other markets, much smaller. But to unlock, to raise our capital, we have to go to capital market. So, what we have to do, we have our savings, domestic household savings, has to channelize to these sectors. Whether it goes to bank, doesn't matter. Subsequently, bank is going to invest in treasury only, or in the stock market, or in the commodity market. So, certain percentage. So, saving is very important. Availability of credit is important. Ease of getting a bank loan is necessary. The government of India has recently set up a fund for startups and distress, etc., 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 to provide seed capital and equity, etc. So we have to do an enabling thing. We have set up an infrastructure bank, BRICS Bank, where Mr. Kamath was heading for 5 years. So those money will have to come. Money has to come from Asian Development Bank. Money has to come from IMF at government and state level for state level. Education is one area. Look, I really admire Nehruji. When India was independent, how many institutes of global standard we had. Now we look at the IITs, IIMs, schools, colleges, both in private sector and in government sector. So education, but again, challenge there is standardization of education. Both all the engineering colleges have set up huge buildings, but they have not been able to provide the same standardized education.
Quality of
But
education.
quality. But in the lockdown, when online thing came, the 3D teachers came, one could find and that the same class of teachers are providing the teaching. So what you are getting in one IIM, you are getting in the other IIM. So that is the benefit of online. It has its own demerits also. I'm talking about positives. So things could be standardization of education can be there, because unless there is we have an educated population, we are not going to really sustain all those things. We have to not only produce engineers, but we have to produce employable engineers. Yesterday, it was an engineers day yesterday. So there were a lot of messages that I have been receiving from engineers. You must have also received. Happy Engineers Day. Yeah. So doctors are like, they make money out of business, out of sick people. Lawyers make money like this. But engineers make money out of their mind.
Yes.
Because everything is in their mind. They are creative by nature. So we have to have a quality manpower to do that. And one area that has remained not in focus has been mining area, mineral and mining. Yeah. So that is required. That is a big game changer. A lot of things. India has a huge mine. And mining assets, whether be it coal, be it diamonds, be it anything.
Thorium, we have
Yeah,
in plenty.
so many things, so many mining, but it's not exploited. So we have to do it. We have to do it. Energy sector is one area. We need to do that. Energy sector is one. As I mentioned earlier, but energy sector is there. Now, most of our energy sector is coal-based. Now we are changing to solar, wind, and so many things. We are also looking at nuclear. We have so many distressed power assets. We have to revive them. But the problem is that we have to improve our efficiency in power generation so that our tariff is comparable to
Global.
global level. We have reduced the cost. It has come down, but still it has not come to the global level. And this discrimination that household will have a different rate, industry will have a different rate. In Delhi, we have another. I'll not go into the Delhi politics. That if you consume 200 units, you have a different rate. If you consume 1,000 units, you have a different. So that's a political gimmickry. So we have to do away with. We have to look at the economic thing. Put social things should be in mind. So these are some of the things, and I can talk many things, but I would say that things are that is another thing before I leave it for questions and so many things is that affordable housing is one area which government has been paying attention to, but it has not yielded the desired result because of so many conflicts on land acquisition, on people getting. We have to do away with subsidy because the promoters they rely on
Subsidy.
their focus changes to subsidy. They're more interested in subsidy than to really generate wealth, create wealth. So we have to change things. So affordable housing is there. Then service sector has to improve. Service sector, the banking, laws. There has to be NPA management, non-performing asset management. Credit monitoring should be stronger. Insurance and reinsurance business have to be given a lot of
Priority.
importance and other things. Then we have to strengthen up capital markets so that funds availability is there. We have to have fund-based requirement of now presently in Indian banks are giving asset-based lending, but in Western countries it's a cash-based, it's a fund flow-based lending. We have to change our lending system also. The banks are also have to trust the borrowers, and the borrowers have to also follow the financial discipline. They have to keep their books right. They don't have to fudge the books, but there's a tendency of fudging the books. So as a result, we have to change our mindset. We have to change our mindset. The industry has to change their mindset. The entrepreneur has to change their mindset. The business class has to change mindset. And the lenders have to change their mindset. The investor has to change their mindset. They should be looking, investors should be looking on a long-term perspective. Lenders should be looking at the safety of their money. But safety doesn't mean just to think that all the borrowers are chore. So you have to treat all your borrowers with respect. You have to understand the intricacies of their business. Give them timely credit. It has to be fund-based, not asset-based. Now, if you're going for a loan of 5 crores, they said that you need 10 crores as your collateral security. So, how they are going to function? If he had 10 crores, he wouldn't have done that. He would not set up industry. So, these are a lot of changes, and I am very bullish. I believe in that our economy, the present crisis, will be able to overcome. And by 2025, I see our economy, or 27, if not doubling, close to very respectable. And I see very good employment opportunities. I see a lot of improvement in agriculture, in fisheries, in infrastructure. Our roads are doing well. I see a lot of things in refining. I'm very bullish about retail. So basically things look very good. We have to create an enabling environment be positive, be optimistic, and look up the thing and have confidence to face any challenges. And government should act at tandem with the state government, with the bureaucracy should be helpful. They should all work at tandem. And they should act as an enabler, as a facilitator, not as a fact finding. The tax law have been liberalized, GST with the GST coming in. Now people have understood the importance of GST and they are implementing it. So now, Kuskoparji, this is somebody, this is what I want to say. And should anybody have any questions and anything, I will be happy to answer them.
Yes, Dasab, it was very nice. You have taken out your valuable time, which is generally not given to anybody. I know that for sure. You have given time to Gandhigram Rural Institute webinar. I'm really thankful to you. Yes, the questions are there, not one, many, but we'll cut short because of the time limit of yours. Uh, Two important stimulators we are talking about, Dasab. First thing, we have touched upon the agriculture sector, which has gone, which requires more attention than what it is today. There is always a problem in fixing up farm price, the farm produce prices. There is a huge mismatch because most of the farmers are going converting their lands to real estate. One way it is helping, one way it is damaging also. So, in terms of fixing up farm gate prices uh, from a particular level, say for example, a lakh of rupees per acre kind of thing, how will it stimulate our economy for 2025?
See, what I had mentioned during thing that my earlier submission is that the farmland uh, uh, has to the owner of the farmland has to think in terms of uh, going for high yielding variety of cultivation. And in that way, you see, if you sell a land or develop a real estate, now what you are doing is that you are doing away with that land. That
Yes.
land has never been in your position. But if you do the farming, if you do some in a scientific way, with seeking some advice, and if the availability of good agriculture market, you will continue to have yield over a period of time, and it will build an annuity to you, annuity income. So it is never desirable that farmland should be converted into a real estate for real estate purpose or anything. That is my view on this.
Thank you, Dasab. Now, the second stimulator we are talking about. Um, we have, for example, in Kaveri, we have 200 TMC of water wasted post rain. We talk about Krishna River or Godavari River, 2000 TMC water goes waste. Uh, how to utilize that wastewater into waterways, inland waterways, how important it is in developing because we are lagging behind so much in inland waterways. How will it stimulate our economy for future?
It's a wonderful thing. I missed out. I personally believe that this waterways or water, how to use the waterway is going to be an important economic activity. It will be an important economic activity, and mm, there are so many things like in Krishna and Kaveri and other things. It depends whether it's downstream or upstream. Where the place you're talking about,
Yeah,
whether it's on a downstream
or
or
upstream.
upstream. And secondly, Krishna Kaveri, there are so many states. The one is some part of that goes to Kerala, Andhra, some will be in Telangana. So many issues are there. So first thing is that we talk about the river. We have to have a coordination amongst the
States.
states. That is important. Then a solution can be found out. It will depend from generally. There are so many solutions, but specifically speaking, it is between the state governments how they want to utilize it. So I would leave it to the wisdom of the state government.
It's an important factor
Considering the demography, the requirements of the local area.
because this is going to substitute it to even agriculture also.
Yeah,
The
yeah. There are multiple,
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 multiple.
multiple.
So, is there any scope of public partnership in this or foreign
Yes,
funds?
yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. There has been, there has been on Brahmaputra,
Yeah.
in Northeast.
Okay. So there
There,
is a scope of funding in
yeah,
that.
there
Okay.
are good scope, good scope.
Sure. Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Now, we'll we'll talk about very interesting subject. One nation, one tax. Uh, what is the larger impact on that? I'm not talking about today because anything we start, as you rightly said, there will be some problem, there will be some teething things will be there, and over a period of time, this one nation, one tax, how is it going to benefit our economy?
See, globally it is the focus. I would start with USA where I have worked for 6 years. So nowhere there is one nation, one tax. Everybody in USA, in a city like New York, where I was working for 6 7 years, 6 years, I had to pay state tax, I had to pay city tax, I had to pay federal tax, and that also only on your direct income, because I was a salary class. So, but the concept by it good, it looks very good, and GST is a good
Initiative.
for indirect taxes. GST is a good step forward. And I think subsequently, there could be like we're talking about city tax, state tax, or central or federal tax. It could be combined into one tax, and there could be a mechanism amongst these three people about the division of taxes. So as a taxpayer, I have to pay only one tax.
True.
So a mechanism can be worked out.
Multiple taxes have actually adverse effect than positive one.
Yeah, it does. Panchayat में you pay for panchayat, then you pay for district, block level, center, and other. So it's a very complex and very disturbing.
Sir, we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat. Where are
Hmm.
we? Where are we, and
Oh,
how do you
no,
see?
it is the concept now, and we have to define it. We have to be Atmanirbhar. Subsequently, that's the aim. Maybe not me, maybe not you, but our next generation have to be Atmanirbhar.
Yes,
And in a way, we have been Atmanirbhar ourselves. हम लोग को किसने सपोर्ट करा कुछ भी हम लोग तो जो भी है आज वट एवर वी आर टुडे We are dependent by virtue of our own skill and hard work.
True, true. So
So
Atmanirbhar,
the concept is very good.
it is well
But
within.
Atmanirbhar as a nation means that we should be self-sufficient. For that, we should be able to produce enough agriculture. जिससे कि हमें खाना, we should have enough food. We should be able to produce all the things domestically, so that we don't have to import anything. So that's the basic concept.
Now I'll go to a critical part of it. Mahatma Gandhi says, uh, "More the villages develop, the country develops." How do you see our rural economy? Is it
He's perfectly right. He was much ahead of his time. He's perfectly right. Unless our villages develop, the country cannot develop. I've been to Champaran myself. I've seen. I've seen the need when Gandhiji started. So his ideals are not utopian. This is very wide, he was very visionary, but his ideas were brilliant. Still, it can be implemented. It is implemented, but you can name it different. You can now, there's like, so we have named it Atma Bharat. We have done it self-reliant. We have done it village and cottage industry. But the intent is the same. His focus, we are living basically his vision. We are translating his vision into actions by giving new names and new nomenclature.
true, sir? Sir, my last question, sir. I will not take much of your time, sir, but still, with a request. Uh, you have seen the social economy of India.
Yes.
You have seen the open economy.
I come from that background.
Yeah.
I come from village.
You have seen the open economy also. Presently, we can say open economy. Now it is wide open economy. We are reaching to all possible extent to see what best we can get. In spite of that story, what you have remembered, that the world requirement was different and we were forced to open up our economy. In this context, what is your critical view that social economy and now, what kind of transformations you have seen in a positive way?
Both have to coexist. Both have to coexist. We cannot say that only capitalist model, even in capitalist model, there is a social component. But even if you look at USA, there is a concept of social security. That after a certain age, you start getting pension. And if you are unemployed, you are getting unemployed benefits. So certain sectors have to be with the government, like for example, defense, social homeland security, automatic energy, space, have to remain with the government. But rest of the things, because government is not meant to be a businessman. We are supposed to be a businessman. So we should be doing the business. Government should be doing the business like in India it was being done. If people like me, if we have to do and go as an IS officer, young IS officer, if we are posted in a district, and if you have to do agriculture, can you do it?
No.
You can't. You are not exposed to. Your knowledge is only what you have read in the books. So let those agriculturists do the agriculture. If you are a banker, if you are an educationist, concentrate on external. So everybody has to coexist. But government has to do a facilitator role, but it has to take care of defense. It has to take care of space. It has to take care of police. And civil laws. It has to enforce those. And rest business related things should be the private sector domain.
Thank you, sir. It was
Thank
indeed,
you.
indeed, it was very, very, very informative session for us. Not only informative, it was a. If I see my curve, it has gone up. The learning curve has gone up.
Thank
Thanks to you,
you.
sir. Thank
I'm
you, sir.
so I'm obliged for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts, and I have relied on my thoughts on some of the documents of Niti Aayog, Price Waterhouse, and other things. So these things are based on what I read on newspaper, etc. And nothing is my which I perceive to be correct. I have shared that. So there could be some inconsistencies in what I have spoken, but I have spoken very candidly, and I have tried to give as much as I could. But I am not a good speaker, so I may have not been able to speak very fluently. But anyway, I have tried to put my viewpoint to the extent I could. And I'm really thankful to the university, to you, and to all your esteemed vice chancellor, and all the viewers for listening to me and sharing their feedbacks. And I'm really obliged. Thank
Thank
you, everybody.
Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you.
I will come for a conclusion, formal conclusion. Shambu Kumar Das sir, we were hearing. Uh, he's a university himself, not to say any lesser words. Uh, he shared his views, as sir said. He's not a speaker, but his subject speaks volumes than what he utters. I'm really thankful to you, Dasab, for coming into our webinar and delivering a lecture on India's economic growth in 2025 with your views. I thank you very much. I invite you personally to come down to Gandhigram University to see Meenakshi Temple once again, share some thoughts with our students in economics and management. I thank you very much, sir. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Red button.